everybody. Thanks for jumping on. I am here today with Brian Moses, one of the top real estate coaches literally in the world. I have learned so much from this guy over the years. He has sold just a massive amount of homes. We're going to talk about his career. We're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. It's going to be good. Here we go. Brian, how are you?
Jeff, I'm doing great now.
A few technical glitches, but we got through it. So, man, it's good to have you on here, guys. If seriously, I met Brian. I first met Brian 20 years. I got in the business 20 years ago, and I know you don't remember this, Brian, but I met you at a conference. It was years ago, out in Phoenix, Arizona, the JW Marriott, and that was the first time I heard you speak. And I'm just, admired you all the way through, part of different coaching programs and different things, and it's just been phenomenal. I've learned so much from you. I want to hit a couple things here as we get going, because your bio on this. Let's see, you've sold over 3,500 homes, ranked top 10 you were at Coldwell Banker, right? Top 10 at Coldwell Banker for 7 years in a row. Twice
Yes.
you were ranked number 2 in the world. Sold more than 400 homes every year. Let's see, $3 million a year in commission income. You did 60 sales in 1 month, 400,000 in commission income in one month. Jeez, Brian, what the heck? You're slacking.
I know, and my wife says, "Why were you slacking?"
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy, man. No, seriously, congratulations on all your success. I mean, I know you've been doing this a long time, and you're just doing phenomenal stuff. And you've changed so many realtors' lives all over the world, literally, with what you've been doing. You changed mine. I mean, seriously, the coaching that I've gotten from you, and just from the stage and different things that I've been at with you, it absolutely it built my business, And so anyway, appreciate it all. Real quick, tell your story, how you got into real estate, and just let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll kind of dive into some things. You've been doing this a long time.
Well, yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Jeff. It's great to see you again. It's been a while, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. It's been quite the road. A lot of people know about your documented success stories, but they don't know about your humble beginnings.
Right.
And I had some humble beginnings. I went through college. My dad spent his life savings to put me through school. During school, the summers, I worked as an intern in his plumbing business. I hated plumbing. I'm on a ladder, drilling with an angle drill through a 2x10, and it hits a knot and it cranks me in the face. And I'm like, this isn't my idea of a future. And my dad would always say, well, someday this business will be yours. And I'm like, internally going, I don't want this business. I remember one time cutting into a sewer line, and the owner flushed the toilet, and I was covered in sewage. And I'm like, there's not enough money in the world for me to want to do this.
Yeah.
And my dad, we had to have a conversation. I said, Dad, that's your dream, and I love you for it, but it's not mine. And it was really hard because I worshiped my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I worshiped my dad. He's a World War II vet. He worked hard. A lot of my hard work ethics and values come from my dad, but plumbing wasn't for me. So long story short, I graduate from college. I've got a business degree. He goes, so what are you going to do now, son? You got all these opportunities. I go, I'm getting into real estate. And he goes, what? That's how it started. So I struggled for the first few years. I thought real estate agents all made lots of money. I thought it was easy. But that's how it started.
Yeah, I hear you. It's funny because it's similar. I graduated from Butler University back in Indiana. That's where I'm from, born and raised.
Okay.
And my senior year, there's a film crew that comes to town, Hoosiers. Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper, right? So I worked on that movie, right?
Wow.
So, there's one scene, if you pause it just right. I was on one of the teams. So anyway, they played. But anyway, me and a buddy of mine, we're graduating. He goes to California over spring break. we finished shooting the movie right before Christmas. He goes out there, and the first assistant director on Hoosiers, he told us, he said, "Hey, if you guys don't want to come out, I'll put you to work." And small town Indiana. I grew up, 12,000 people, whatever. Like California back. This is 1986. That's another planet at that point. No internet, no cell phones, whole different world. And so my buddy Ira, he goes to California over spring break, and he comes back. It's our first night back. We're sitting in night class. We're up in the back row of the auditorium, and all we're doing for 3 hours is talking California. The beach and the sun and the girls and the this and that, whatever. We got to go to California. And so anyway, I remember I go back to my fraternity house that night, and I called up the first assistant director, Herb Edelman. I'm like, Herb, were you serious? If we come out there, you put us to work? He's like, yeah, get out here. So we did it. And I remember the same thing. My parents put me through, 4 years of college, all this stuff. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go to California, and get in the film business. Excuse me? My dad's like, you're an idiot. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, well, Mr. Hollywood now, and honestly, there was that part of me going like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. What do I have to lose? If it doesn't work, I got my degree to fall back on, but I don't want to be kicking myself 10 years later. Gosh, I wonder what would have happened if and everything has happened out of that. I worked in the business for 10 years, had a great time, learned a ton, made a lot of money, did very well, met my wife out there. It's just the whole journey it happened because I was able to take that leap and just go out there. But I didn't want to, what if I wouldn't have, And think about what if you should have been a plumber, Brian? Come on. Look what's happened, and look how many lives look how the impact you've had, but how many people out there are just afraid to take that shot, whatever. And they go through life just like, oh man, just going through the motions day by day. It's hard, so it's awesome. Well, I remember having that conversation with my parents. It was hard.
I'll tell you a funny story. My dad, to his credit, told me that anything was possible. I was raised believing anything's possible. So I said, if anything's possible, why would I want to be a plumber? Right? Think about it. Like I could do anything I want to do in the world. And there was something about real estate that called me. And I remember being at a Coldwell Banker event, and the speaker, I forget who it was. I would go to all these training events, and the speaker said, share your goals with the person next to you. So we did that. And I go, state your goal, state your intention. So I said to the person next to me, I said, I'm going to be the #1 agent in the world for Coldwell Banker. And he spit up his coffee all over his shirt. True story. And he goes, you're not even the #1 agent in New Hampshire. I go, you got to start somewhere. And he laughed and he's like, okay, good luck to you. And then 4 years later, we made the top 10.
Wow.
So anything is possible. If you're willing to believe it in your mind that it's possible, conceive it as a thought, take the necessary actions to move in that direction, you're capable of amazing things.
Absolutely. Anybody can do it. And one of the things, again, you got to have that drive and that desire and the why. We talk about the big why all the time and just different things. It's just, there's a lot of things that drive you. What was those first few years? Ups and downs, highs and lows. What would you say to like some of the new agents? There's been so many agents the last couple of years, whatever and every year. It's just, everybody and their mother gets their license. Oh, real estate's hot. They don't realize it's hot because there's nothing to sell. But, so there's a lot of agents out there that getting into the business and trying to figure it out, trying to navigate these first couple of years. And I remember my first couple of years. Thank God I got plugged in, with you and different people like 6 months into it. And it exploded my business very quick. 2.5 years into it, I was in the top 20 in town here in Colorado Springs. That's where I'm at.
That's fantastic.
And, and it was all because of what I learned. Seriously, what I learned from you, and the other people I was around. You become who you hang around. I wanted to be a part of that group. So it wasn't cheap, put $14,000 on a credit card to join that program, and didn't tell my wife for 6 months she's going to leave me. I'm like, oh my God, and, but it paid off. She had to get her license, 2.5 years later, because I couldn't keep
That's
up.
great.
Good problem to have. But it was because I learned what I learned from you. Did you get plugged into coaching early on, or did you have good mentorship, or was it kind of the first couple of years? What was it like for you?
So I struggled the first few years, 5 years, to be honest with you. Got in some big trouble with the IRS, didn't pay my taxes for 5 years. Things got a lot worse before they got better. And one night, late at night, I was watching an infomercial, and it was QVC, and it was Tony Robbins. And he was selling these cassettes, Personal Power, how to navigate the demons in your head. And I had a lot of demons in my head. I had a lot of self-doubt. Things weren't working out. I was getting, I was focused on where I was, not where I was going. And sometimes when you're going somewhere to be the number one agent in the world, or to pursue that, or to be a great husband or a great father or a great coach or role model, it doesn't happen overnight. So when you're going through it, self-doubt can creep in. So anyway, I bought those cassettes on money that I didn't have. I invested it on a credit card. I listened to them till they wore out. And, that changed my psychology. So that probably continued to help me believe that anything was possible. And, the definition of insanity is keep doing what you're doing, expecting different results. So at that time, I was cold calling, I was door knocking, I was chasing expireds and struggling. I mean, I was making 300 calls a day. Nobody worked harder than me.
Right.
And I was broke. I was spending more money than I was making, Jeff. And met a guy who's the number one RE/MAX agent in the world for transactions. His name was Marshall Redder. I went out and saw Marshall. He introduced me to Craig Proctor. I met Craig Proctor. Like you said, you become a product of your environment. And those two guys exposed me to a whole different world of direct response marketing. And once I engaged in direct response marketing, I never looked back. I went from 42 deals to 108 in 1 year. I married, built my own house, had money in the bank, paid the IRS off. And it's just been great because I don't have to chase the business. The business will come to you if you can differentiate yourself. So that was really the big turning point for me. So I have a lot of people to thank along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk about this. One of the things that I really learned from you, and I appreciate, is the idea of really building a true business. That's why I kind of got this ticker going across the bottom with this. I thought about this because that was one of the things I remember early on for me. I remember reading this book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. And I remember he had something in there. He says, are you a business owner? I'm thinking, yeah, I got my real estate business, And then he asked that question, can you walk away for 1 year? With no contact whatsoever, come back and your business is still there. If you can answer yes to that, congratulations, you are a true business owner. If not, you own a glorified job. And I'm like, wow, I've got to rethink how I'm doing things. And that was something I really learned from you. I think, can you talk about that for a bit? Because you got all these realtors out there, again, they're chasing the next deal, scrambling all over the place, on the phone at 9:00 at night, because, at the beck and call of everything that comes at them. And you don't really have a business with that kind of, when it's set up that way. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. So I call it business owner or job, right? Job is an acronym that stands for just over broke. If your business requires you don't have a business, you have a job. Maybe you want to brainwash yourself and think you're a business operator, but you're still not a business owner. True leverage in business comes from owning a business where you're making money, earning money off other activities that are happening in the business while you're not involved in them. So, in my case in real estate, I got really good at systems, processes, and then I would hire people and teach them the shortcuts, right? There's a right thing to say to a prospect and a wrong thing to say. There's things that you can say that'll increase your conversion for getting an appointment. There are things you can say to win the listing when you're in competition with 5 or 6 other agents. So we would train on those things. And, I was able to remove myself from production. Although, I got the award number 2 in the world for Coldwell Banker, it wasn't me. It was a great team of people who did it with me. We were the number 2 team in the world. It wasn't just me. And while I was out of production, they had good quality of life because they weren't wearing all the hats. They didn't have to do lead generation, make all the phone calls, do all the back end office stuff, process listings, process sales. We did all that for them so that they could just be an assembly line. So the agents had a great job. They didn't own a business, but they had leverage in my business. And then I had the benefit of owning a business with being able to remove myself from production. So I have other businesses that I've been involved in. I've owned a title company. I've had partnerships in mortgage businesses, and I've never taken a mortgage application, but you get paid, or never closed the deal where the buyers and sellers are transferring the deed, but I got paid because those were business opportunities. I owned a limousine company. And it all sounds great on the outside, but there's a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes to owning your own business. But that's really the distinction. Are you making money off the efforts of other people? And are you also adding value to their lives so that they want to stick around?
Right. And you don't start there as a brand new agent. You build up to
Right.
something like that. But I would say, again, get the coaching, get mentoring, get into the books. I mean, all these books behind me. I mean, I'm always working on this because I know it all starts here, whatever. But man, just having those people around you that you can collaborate with, and a team of people, and learn from their mistakes, so you don't repeat them, and just so you can leverage yourself that much quicker. But and seriously, that was. But to have a true business, I hate when I see agents, and I was like that. It was out of balance for a while. I remember going to Disney World with my kids, and I'm standing in line and I'm on the phone putting out real estate fires, and my kids are like, "Dad, we're next to get on in line." I'm like, "Let them go past, let them go past. I'll be done in a minute. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead." And it's like, I got to be honest, I hated that as a dad. I see some of these agents. I saw an agent recently. They put a post. They were on Facebook, and I see this post. He's a big agent here in Colorado Springs. It's him and his family, and they're at the Denver airport, and they're on their way to Cancun. All excited. And he's got the picture. There's the family. They're all, here we go. But he puts this on there, a little line. By the way, never forget. I've got my laptop with me. I'm ready to help you with any of your real estate. And I'm like, I wanted to reach through the computer and just smack the guy. Like, stop, no.
Well, think about this.
That's hard. Don't do that. Your kids need you. Your wife needs you. Be on. We all need those breaks. We need those breaks, and I think we can run ourselves into the ground.
Let me say the same thing in a different context, because you're 100% right. Don't do that. But we can tell people not to do that, and they're like, "You're not paying my bills, so I have to do that." Right? That's what their belief is.
Right.
So I met somebody years ago who taught me how to set goals. There's a right way to set goals and a wrong way to set goals. And the wrong way to set goals is to go, okay, it's 2022. By the end of this year, I want to pay down all my debt. I want to buy a new car. Maybe I want to do an addition on my house, or do a remodel, or take the kids to Disney, or whatever it is. Most of us don't think beyond that. What does life look like? What does the end result look like for you? And one thing I got attached to internally very quickly was, when I'm 100 years old, and I'll ask all the viewers to ask this question. When you're 100 years old and you're looking back on your life, are you going to be really proud that you brought your computer on vacation to Disney World with your kids? And while they're on the rides, you're plucking away and not being fully present? And I made that distinction. I've never missed my kids' practices, games, despite producing at a really high level. I made the decision of what I want my life to look like, what I stand for, what's important to me. And don't misinterpret me. I've made tons of mistakes. I'm a human being. I've screwed up more shit than you can. You can do an interview with my wife, and she'll just go on a rant, over the last 30 years of all the shit that I've messed up. But when you think about that and prioritize your schedule, you become really disciplined, because you can have it all. You can have great business, you can have great health, you can have great spiritual connection with the universe and your community, and be philanthropic. You can have a great business, you can have a wonderful personal life. So it is all possible, but you have to think about what you want your life to look like.
Yeah, for sure. What are some ways, and again, there's no way you can, this could be a whole seminar in itself, so we don't want to go there, but ways to make yourself stand out in this market as an agent. There's so many agents to pick from. Why should a buyer pick you? Why should a seller pick you? And again, that was one of the things I learned from you was just, different ways to really differentiate yourself. What makes you different than all the other agents? And it's not just, here's your card, you with your phone, whatever, I'm here to meet your needs. It's like, that's never going to, okay. So all the agents say that. What would be some ways that, in this market and this environment right now that agents could start thinking that way, how to make themselves stand out?
So you always want to put yourself in your prospect's shoes, because the more specific you are with your messaging, the more it'll resonate with your prospects. So you said buyers or sellers. Great. Two very different messages, right? It's even more effective if your message, Jeff, can solve a problem. So what are the problems buyers are having today? Getting their offers accepted. Yeah. So what if you created a message? Hey, having a problem getting your offer accepted? Not with us. We've got 15 different strategies that we employ, and we've got all these testimonials of people who have gotten their offers accepted when they're competing with 20, 30 different other offers. So if you're in the market and you want to have a leg up and you're getting traditional financing, don't screw around with some inexperienced agent. I'm paraphrasing, sure, obviously. Yeah. But that solves the problem, and it's not what everybody else is doing. On the seller side, how many people are in your market or in the market of our viewers that would list their house if they knew where they were going? But they're not listing their house because they know their house is going to sell in a New York second, so they're going to be homeless. Yeah. So what if you created a message that talked about how they can avoid being homeless, how they can sell their home and negotiate sellers are in charge today, right? They're calling the shots. They're getting 30 offers. So we can negotiate anything. So avoid being homeless when you list your home with Brian Moses, or avoid being homeless when you list your home with Jeff Morrell. We have 3 different programs that will help you find your next home without having to sell your home. So things like that,
right,
will differentiate yourself. The oldies that you remember, your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it for cash. Not a very good offer today.
Yeah.
The sellers are going, Brian Moses is going to guarantee my home or buy it for cash. I don't need his guarantee because I'll have 30 offers in 1 second.
Yeah.
But there's still agents running those billboards. Your home sold guaranteed. So it's not a message to market match. We want to make sure that our message speaks to today's relevant and timely market conditions.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Just as you go. Absolutely. For sure. Let's talk for just a second, then we'll wrap it up here. I know you're busy and we'll get on here. But when did you make the move to eXp?
I joined about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I was first introduced to it maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then introduced to it again 4.5 years ago, and then again 4 years ago, and then 3 years ago. And, everybody and their brother was telling me about this company, and it just didn't feel right the way that it was being presented to me.
Okay.
So when I don't have good feelings or good instincts, I tend to let that guide my path. And then I met somebody about 2.5 years ago who didn't give me that, I don't know, that feeling of commission breath or nausea that I felt earlier. Like, people were looking at me like licking their chops, and I don't know, it just didn't feel right. But anyway, I was very fortunate for a gentleman in California who reached out to me and just had a conversation with me. So I joined 2.5 years ago.
Okay. What are you excited about being here?
Yeah,
because I am excited. I mean, I've been in it 20 years. I've been here for 4, and I feel like I'm more excited about where we're headed now than I've been in my entire 20 years in terms of just the opportunity that's here. What do you see with it? I mean, what do you see with eXp?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this company. the opportunities that exist at this company. That's not to say that other companies are bad or they're
Sure.
inferior. I am a firm believer that the grass is green where you water it. So if people reach out to me and say, hey, you're with eXp, I'm thinking about leaving or I'm thinking about moving, I don't jump at that opportunity and go, yeah, you got to come to eXp. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because it's not for everybody.
Right.
It's not for everybody. But for the right people, for certain individuals, it can solve a lot of problems. And in my case, I don't sell real estate anymore. There's a great collaboration of people like yourself that are incredible, very open-minded, very entrepreneurial, that I enjoy hanging around with. So if you enjoy hanging around with those types of people, this company's loaded with them. I'm sure there's many at the other brands and the other franchises as well. But there's a lot of benefits at this company, eXp, that other companies don't have. There's more training. It's on demand, which is incredible. When I was at Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or even Remax, I'd have to get on an airplane and fly somewhere, and then I'd have to pay $14,000 like you to get coaching,
right.
to get those nuggets or those wisdoms. And now, with eXp in the way that it's set up, you can get those nuggets all week long, every day.
Yeah.
There's stock awards. It's a publicly traded company. It's very agent centric. So that's very different than some of other companies out there that are very company centric, meaning the founders and the CEOs and the executives are the ones who get rich off all the sales that we make. I was calculating it the other day. Do you know I paid Coldwell Banker over $3 million in commissions?
Wow. Oh,
and
goodness.
Not that it's a bad company. I met a lot of great people at that company.
Sure.
But the question is, in 10 years that I paid $3 million to them, did I get $3 million of value back? And the answer is no. I can't honestly tell you that I got $300,000 in value back.
Right.
So, the brand, people would argue, well, that brand is a 100-year-old brand and that had to help you. Well, certainly it didn't hurt me, but I also was with other brands. I also was an independent, and my conversion didn't go up because I went with a brand. So I'm really, really excited about the future. I love coaching and training. I'll always coach and train. And my primary mission in life is to make a difference in the lives of people I come in contact with. So whenever I'm asked to do an interview, the answer is always yes. How can I help? How can I reach more people? How can I add value? What can I do for you? Because I'm a firm believer that the more you do to contribute to the lives of other people, the more that comes back. And I've been really, really well rewarded and blessed for that belief over the years. And sometimes you're rewarded in ways, Jeff, that you weren't even tied to. You're like, wow, how did this greatness happen in my life? Well, it's because you've been pouring in for years in the past. So yeah,
Sure.
really excited to be here at eXp, and not really changing much about what I do. If the opportunity is a fit for somebody, I'm happy to answer questions for them. But it's an incredible, incredible company with incredible people. And many, many other ways to generate wealth and revenue that didn't exist in traditional brokerages.
Right. I don't know if you saw, Glenn Sanford, our founder, back when the fourth quarter earnings came out a month ago. And he tweeted out that day, that in 2021, $220 million was given back out to the agents in 2021. $50 million in stock bonuses, stock awards, ownership, equity, another $170 million in revenue share paid back to the agents that are helping to build the company. And some people
Yeah.
look at that, like that's all wrong. But think about where you are right now, wherever you are. I mean, you're a broker owner, and the execs above them, they want to build that company, and they're overriding all that. We're owners of the company; we can override that as well. It makes sense when you just think about it, and that's such
Yeah.
a nice reward to have for those that want to do it. That opportunity exists, and it's just what that can do. Multiple ways to get paid for what you're going to do anyway. That's
Yeah.
what it's just. I'm making more money than I've ever made, and I'm starting to be able to pull back on the amount of work I'm having to do.
It does
To
take the
leverage
pressure
myself.
off. It
It
takes the
does.
pressure off, right?
Yeah.
So
For
yeah,
sure.
it's been an incredible ride. I joined 2.5 years ago, and I didn't do much with it for the first 18 months. So it's really been the first year. It was really been the last year and a half that I've even, talked to anyone about it. But
Sure.
it's
For
been it's
sure.
been incredible.
It's exciting stuff. Where can people? I know people can find you if you want to get plugged in with Brian. I know brianmoses.com, right? There's a
Yeah,
website there. That's one way in terms of your coaching and that whole program. And I would tell people definitely look into that because again, changed my career. I mean, for sure. Being around Brian and these guys. What are some other ways that people can find you? Can you share some
well,
of that?
thanks. You can certainly get an overview at brianmoses.com. We're on all the social media. We have trainings on YouTube, Facebook, um, LinkedIn. You can connect with me with whatever your preference is. But let me give you a URL. Go to getlistingsfast.com. It's a
Okay.
free training. It's an hour training that talks about what Jeff asked me. How do you differentiate yourself in today's market with the shortage of inventory and what we're going through right now? So there's some great marketing examples. If you go to getlistingsfast.com, you'll get a free training, nothing to buy. If you'd like to look into our coaching at the end, there's additional resources for you. But there's great value in that training. So for your viewers, we put together getlistingsfast.com.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, very cool. I'll check it out myself. I will be in there
Awesome.
watching it. So good stuff. Well, Matt, one last thing I got to just mention because one of my favorite videos when every conference I went to was you on David Letterman.
It's a classic.
It is a classic. It's a total classic. If you haven't watched that, guys, you go to YouTube and just do a search, Brian Moses, David Letterman, and you'll see that video on there. I just watched it last night. I was just like,
That's
it's so
fantastic.
funny. Yeah. So real quick, do it. Do it. The name is Bond. The name is Bond. James
All
Bond. Go
right,
ahead. Let me see you
ready?
do it. Yeah.
Okay. He didn't have glasses. Okay, so here we go. The name is Bond, James Bond.
There you go. It's a great video. It's so
Thanks,
classic.
thanks,
How
Jeff.
long ago was that? That was late night. That was on NBC before you even went. I loved
That was
Letterman.
probably 99 or 2000, somewhere in that
Okay.
vicinity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm a big Letterman fan. Being from Indiana, whatever, man. He's one of our own. So, anyway, Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Thanks for
Of
jumping on
course.
here. Great content, great value right there, even. And so, guys, definitely go check out the website, getlistingsfast.com. Check that out, brianmoses.com. You can find him on social media. Look up some YouTube stuff. He's got some great content out there. But thank you very much. I'll see you at the next event. You're going to be in Orlando, shareholders?
Yeah, I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it.
Yep.
So let's catch up,
Yep.
have a beer together.
Absolutely. Be awesome. I will see you down there. So, guys,
All right,
thank you
buddy.
very much. Have a great rest of your week. Be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button down there on YouTube if you're watching us there. Throw out any comments, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. If you have questions for either of us, get them on there. We'll get them answered for you. But we definitely appreciate your time. Brian, thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Okay.